a lot of CEOs believe, and just looking at pay scales through the market and things of that nature that I've seen that, everybody's on the AI jump and the AI fear, right? That AI is going to take all the jobs and it's just going to be ran by robots. And we're going to live in the world of the Jetsons and the Terminators. And to be honest with you, I created Nexus to avoid that. I
Mm,
created Nexus so that it aids the buyer, it aids the CEO and the COO. It gives you I have a methodology. It's called KISS. And I don't know if you know what that means, but KISS means keep it simple, stupid. And
mhm.
it's my I always say silly when I'm on, online because I don't want to offend anybody, but keep it simple, stupid.
Welcome to Podcast Wise Perspectives, Cybersecurity, and AI. For modern C suite executives, procurement is often misunderstood as a passive cost center, a reactive, back office utility. But in an era defined by rapid AI integration and supply chain volatility, treating vendor operations as an afterthought is a risk your bottom line cannot afford. Today, we are joined by Michael Scott, founder of Blackcrest Strategic Group, creator of the Nexus platform, and author of Dirt Roads to Deal Tables. Drawing from over 30 years in supply chain and procurement, from the U.S. Air Force to enterprise operations, Michael breaks down how leaders can turn procurement into a high-yield operating system. We explore the reality of human-in-the-loop AI, avoiding pilot purgatory, and why deep domain expertise beats coding when building scalable enterprise software. Let's dive in. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Thin? Good to see you.
Likewise, likewise. All right, so I'm just going to jump right into it. So, Michael, you've transitioned from traditional procurement to building an advanced tech platform, all while preparing to launch your book titled Dirt Roads to Deal Tables. In the high stakes of wor- in the high stakes world of corporate decision making, what is the biggest dirt road mentality that modern executive need to leave behind?
Treating procurement like a transaction, like an afterthought. I really believe in procurement supply chain. That is probably one of the biggest because um, procurement touches everything, right?
Hmm.
We deal in everything. Our bottom line is really affected by us. Our make sure you're getting paying vendors on time, get you product on time. That's handled
Yeah.
by us. And I think that procurement needs to really be shining more than what it is, as far as that situation with executives, because they tend to forget just who's actually putting bread on their table. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Who,
yeah.
those things. So, that would be the biggest that would be the biggest thing I think that executives need to kind of look at and address and fix.
Okay. Now, you built a sophisticated technology platform with no formal engineering background. From a strategic leadership perspective, how did your deep procurement experience actually become your ultimate competitive advantage in the tech space?
Because I to forgive the way I'm gonna say this, I live the pain.
Mm,
I know what's going on. I'm not a tech guy that said, "Oh, I got an idea." No, Mike lived it. I live it. It's not lived. I still am a practicing procurement professional. I still every day go into work. I have a cubicle. I do my thing and at a job, and I do this, as well. Um, but that's my advantage is I know what I would be looking for. I know what a buyer would be looking for, and I also have been in this industry as a procurement supply chain professional for over 30 years. 20 years
mhm.
in procurement. I've been in supply chain since I was 18 years old. It was what I did in the Air Force.
Okay.
So, and I grew up in supply chain. My father built boxes for a logistics depot. So I've grown through this
It's
whole
in your
thing. So
blood. It's in your
it's in
blood
my
at this.
blood, basically, yeah. So, yeah, that is my advantage. I know what I'm looking for. I know what needs to be shown. I know what if I was a CEO, what I'll be looking for, and talking with and meeting CEOs in the past, and those things. These are things that matter.
Yeah. And you also see the pain points and
Yes.
are able to to avoid those pain points, right? So when you have that advantage where you can see the future, I guess, right?
Well, I wouldn't go that
With
far.
your
I mean, I don't.
well, no, well, I mean, you can see what's about to
Yeah,
happen, right? Like in the procurement process, you understand the process enough to say, well, if this doesn't happen, this might happen or this might
right.
happen, right?
Right, right, and I think that's the thing with what I built with Nexus, you know, and I'll give you the backstory of why it kind of morphed into what it is. Nexus was built on a dare, and I tell
Oh,
you what I
okay.
mean. I'll tell you what I mean by that. I broke my leg in December. I was getting a back X-ray and I passed out. Crazy story. And when I hit the floor, I broke my leg in 2 places, and
Oh,
they had to do, surgery, and I have 2 plates in my leg, my right leg with 14 screws. I'm saying that to kind of set the tone of what I was doing, which was nothing. I was hanging out on the couch and,
mm,
'cause I was healing, and I'm a bad guy about going down rabbit holes. I just will go down a rabbit hole. I'll get on YouTube and I'll just follow the hole wherever it goes. And
mhm,
somehow I landed on AI. I knew of AI, just kind of playing with it. And this guy, this video I watched said, I dare you to ask AI what is an underserved market and try to build something to help the underserved market.
okay,
So I did. I said, "Oh, I got nothing to do, so why not?" So I did, and it led me down a government contracting path. And
yep,
which is I have a lot of experience in there. I work for defense now. I was in the Air Force. I've worked with federal stuff and DFAR regulations and all that kind of crap for years, right? So I was like, okay, cool. Well, the more I got to playing with it, and so I originally built that. And so it kind of I would go, well, well, what about this? And I would say, hey, what about this? And they'd say, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And then that went into this. And then what I learned was it's not an underserved market. There's so many tools out there for federal bid packaging and getting bid intelligence and all that kind of stuff that it's so much noise that I would just be feeding into the noise.
mm,
So, if there's one thing about me in my life, I gotta figure out a way to be different than everybody else. It's just the way I am. I do it in my personal life. It drives my wife crazy. I gotta be different than
mm,
everybody else. And, so I started thinking, which is always a bad thing. And I would say, "Hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? I think this would be cool. What about this?" And then when I got back to work, I started noticing pain points at work, and I was like, "Well, what about what I'm doing manual work that could be done by you." You see where I'm going with this? And it just kind
yeah,
of morphed into what I have today with 7 modules, 7 different viewpoints. It's got safety precautions. I've made it SOC 2 compatible. I'm at compliant to the most part. It's got NIST framework in there for the government guys.
nice.
It kind of just grew. And again, as you said, I'm not a tech. I'm a tech guy. I'm enough to be dangerous. Like I'm the dude you call when you need your TV hooked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's me. But I'm not a programmer. I'm not a developer. And I think that's the coolest thing ever is when I've showed this to a few people, few developers, and they'll go, "So what do you do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a procurement guy." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a procurement guy. I have no idea. I'm just have my ideas and I test it. I get up at 3 o'clock every morning and I run through the program and make sure the program does what I think it needs to do."
nice. That's cool. So when we look at the mid market, what is the one critical thing that SMB owners and the mid market C suite executives get completely wrong about procurement?
That I think especially small business that they think anybody can do the job. I mean, I
Mm,
know small businesses right now that the people in the job, your vice presidents of procurement, has never cut a PO a day in their life. I have more experience in my little finger doing procurement than they have doing the job they're doing right now. Same thing goes with mid market. We live in a world where everybody's you know, there's a lot of undervalued departments, and I truly believe in my heart procurement is one of those.
Yeah.
And
So
so
t
go
so
ahead, I'm sorry.
tell me more about what does the procurement department do?
We do everything. I mean, you can't build nothing if you ain't got parts. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So, as far as procurement departments go, our job is depend on your commodities, and every manufacturer has a different commodity. You have your metal guys that need raw stock. You've got and dies and cutting tools and things of that nature. You've got your fastener places and you've got, and the cool thing about Nexus, and I will say this, I have made it where it transcends not just the metal business.
Okay.
It What I did was I said, "Well, let's not make this just for one niche, one little pie." And I've got a lot of criticism over that, not this one little pie. What I did was I said, "Okay, this thing connects to your ERP system. It can," and I've got, people, that I'm working with that can help if you have a ERP system I've never heard of, which really doesn't exist, then I we can work on how to connect the dots to get you to work. But that's what feeds this engine. It's
Mm,
your data. Your data is what's feeding this. And
okay.
that was the whole purpose of it because retailer can use it, a distributor can use it, a manufacturer can use it. If you're running ERP, you can use it.
Okay. Now, you advocate for massive paradigm shift in operations. What
Yes.
does it actually mean for an organization to turn procurement into an operating system rather than just a back office department?
It's everything. Again, procurement is what drives, because let me tell you something. If you can't get product out the door, the first person they're gonna come to is that buyer. Where's the widget that goes to this part? When's it
Mm-hmm.
gonna be here? I gotta make my numbers this month. They're not gonna go to the CEO. They're not gonna go to the COO. The COO and the CEO and the head of sourcing, the head of category management and the head of production, they're coming to you and they're gonna say, "Where's my stuff at?"
Mm-hmm.
And with that knowledge, it goes to show you just how powerful procurement is. At the end of the day, like I just said, if you don't have parts, you can't make product.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I think that's the biggest thing, and that we really need to wake up with. And I don't think we're there yet. I think that a lot of CEOs believe, and just looking at pay scales through the market and things of that nature that I've seen, that everybody's on the AI jump and the AI fear, right? That AI is going to take all the jobs and it's just going to be ran by robots. And we're going to live in the world of the Jetsons and the Terminators. And to be honest with you, I created Nexus to avoid that. I
Mm,
created Nexus so that it aids the buyer, it aids the CEO and the COO. It gives you I have a methodology. It's called KISS, and I don't know if you know what that means, but KISS means keep it simple, stupid. And
mm-hmm.
it's my I always say silly when I'm on, online because I don't want to offend anybody, but keep it simple, stupid. And that is my mindset. That's how I live my life. I know, and we were just talking about it today at work. Buyer was telling me how they like going to one place that has all the information. I'm the same way. I want to go to one place that's got all my information. So that's really what I built. And if we all thought like that and we all saw the actual value in what a buyer does and procurement and what it is, I think it will change everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's hard if you have like different departments buying stuff, right?
Yeah,
So like if you had like operations buying something and then IT buying something and then finance department buying something, that even if it's like something like computers,
right.
right? Like let's say that the IT department is buying all the computers, but then invoicing has to go to the
They are,
finance department and all that stuff. So
right.
it's going inter departments and whatnot instead of going from one department to it's like just procurement to finance
Right,
versus,
and
you
again,
know.
and to that point, the other deal is if you have 5 departments buying 5 different things, say operations is buying their own widgets, IT is buying computers, the office staff is buying office supplies, right?
Mhm,
Perishables and all those kind of commodities. You miss out on so much because let me tell you something, because you're loading your other departments. So guess what that other department's gonna do? I gotta order 15 computers and I gotta work on the switch and I gotta do all this. Done, it's finished, gone. You have no idea what you just paid for. You have no clue. So then you get the invoice, finance goes, well, he paid, he got it. Stamp it, move it on down the line. But what happens is it goes against your bottom line because at the end of the day, that CEO is looking at a P&L, profit and loss statement. Right?
mhm.
He's gonna see how much I got coming in, how much I got going out. And
Right.
so sometimes those numbers get a little wonky. So the whole purpose of a buyer and procurement is to be able to say, okay, we're averaging 100 computers a month. Well, let me talk to the manufacturer, the distributor I'm dealing with, and let me see if we can work a deal. You see what I'm saying? And then that price goes down. When that price goes down, your profits go up
Mhm.
because now you're not paying as much as where you were, and there's a big gap between the 2.
Yeah. So now many executives view procurement strictly as a cost cutting function. How
Mhm.
can changing the procurement framework directly impact a company's enterprise value and top line growth?
Again, you are correctly right on the money with that. We're looking at cost cutters, that's all we are. But what
Hmm.
they don't see is the reasons why we cut those costs. They don't see all the hard work of working with vendors when you have a poor supplier, feeding that poor supplier, helping that poor supplier, getting him moving, getting him go, "What do you need? What can we do to get you on track?" Because again, I always go back to this. Procurement is the engine that drives your profit.
Mm.
Procurement and sales are the engines that drive your profit because you can't make product if you ain't got product. So it's not really it is a cost cutting thing to your point, right?
Hmm.
But procurement goes much deeper than that, much,
Yeah.
much deeper than that. And I think again, with like my comment earlier when you asked about the dirt roads question, I think that's where executives and management forget. They'll talk about sales and all that kind of stuff, but you won't talk about how much did we save in purchasing? How much did
Hmm.
purchasing save us
Yeah.
by utilizing suppliers, by utilizing vendor relationships?
Yeah.
So
So now with the integration of AI platforms in corporate workflows, how should leadership balance automated data driven procurement with the human elements of high level vendor negotiations?
that's a great question. The biggest thing is a robot, and I call AI robots, and this has come from a guy that built an AI engine, so please, understand that. It's yes, AI is a powerful tool. It really is.
All right. So, with the integration of AI platforms in corporate workflows, how should leadership balance automated, data driven procurement with the human element of high level vendors negotiation?
Thank you for that. That's a great question. The I think what we need to realize, what the executives need to realize, and what kind of we need to realize as a society, right? LLMs, your AI modules, they're only built to take in and spit out what they take in. It's like food. You get fed and then you get rid of the food, right? You can disseminate it. It goes through your body. It does what it does, right? Separates everything. That is what it is. So Yes, AI is a powerful tool. Yes, AI can make your job quick. It can automate tasks. It can do all that manual stuff that we've been doing for years. It can help eliminate the spreadsheet forms and all that kind of stuff we have to manually manipulate. But it can't get down to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is relationships. I
Mhm.
will preach on this. I will stand on that pulpit and I'll probably die on that pulpit. Purchasing is only as good as the suppliers that are being fed to us the product. Yeah. I just had to think about what I just said because it didn't make sense in my head. So, yeah, we can only go by what we're being fed, right?
Mhm.
With
Yep.
products. So that takes a human touch, because if I need a favor, I'm going to call my vendor that I have a 5-year relationship with. Hey, I need this favor. Can you maybe, and you know what? We're short 15 pieces. Is there a way can you get me my 15 I need here tomorrow? I need them here tomorrow so I can make my cut, my monthly quota,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So a computer can't do that. It can read demand all day long. It can tell you what you're short and can do all that. But the human element comes in the fact of relationships. That is where the human element comes into play.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the relationships between vendors and procurement, or even um, it, just the human touch, right? Just
Right.
understand, just having an understanding of somebody's struggle or somebody's need, right? So, like, let's say, as for your example, it I need something um to meet my quota tomorrow. I need
Right.
it today, right?
Right.
So it's just like the human will be able to be like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I understand with that you need this to meet your quota," versus AI will be like, "Here, I need this."
Right.
Okay.
And it
You know?
and it's like, "Okay, when do you need it?" And it's like, "Wait, I need it today."
Right.
"How many you need?" "I need 15." So but it's like, okay, and again, with the relationships like we were just talking about, the great thing about having suppliers you can lean on is if you have a really good supplier, they're gonna do everything in their power. I know when I was a supplier and I was working for a supplier and we needed product to get out the door, I drive to the place I had to go get it. It could be an hour
Mhm.
away. I drive all over the state just to go get the stuff. I didn't have to do it. Probably wasn't even supposed to do it, but I knew we needed product to get product out the door.
Yep. That's
AI
the
ain't
way.
gonna do
No,
that.
it's not gonna do it. Mm-mm.
So,
Hey,
you
can't even
you know?
drive.
Yeah, I get it, you know what I
Well,
mean? I mean, we got
it
Waymo now, but I mean, you know what I'm
Uh,
saying? But
yeah, it can drive, but not for that purpose.
not for
Ha.
that purpose, no.
So supply chain disruption and vendor risk management are top of mind for every COO and CFO right now. What is the first line of defense a company should implement to bulletproof their vendor ecosystem?
You gotta have your KPIs. You gotta know. I was thinking about this when I built Nexus. We have a thing called Truth Serum.
Mm,
And what Truth Serum does and what it's designed to do, and it's still proprietary and we're still getting it, figured out because there's some little quirks that I want it done. It looks at your ERP data when you receive something, but then it also looks at when did it actually show as delivered on the vendor's website.
mm,
Big difference. Because if you're shorthanded in receiving, they may not get to it for 2 days. That's 2 days you've lost trying to get receipts done. 2 days you've lost. So when that vendor gets judged, because he's getting judged on when the product is being received in their ERP system. That's
mm.
part of the judging, right? They're getting false reads. And I think that we need to understand KPIs. We need to understand what is our true on-time delivery. Then that way we can see who are my struggling suppliers, who are my good suppliers, where are we at with quality. Part of the AS 9100 is quality, is a supplier scorecard. Where are you at with quality? Where are you at with on time deliveries? Where are you at with acknowledgments? All those kind of things. The acknowledgments and stuff, are there pricing anomalies? You know, we need to understand that because that is your supplier relationship. Because if we keep dumping money in a supplier that's not going to work with you, he's changing his price every 5 minutes. He can't get products on time. He's giving you poor products. Why are we dealing with him?
Mhm.
We should be able to find another supplier that could do the same exact thing with a better track record. And again, it all comes down to KPIs. Is just the way that it really is that way, because that's what your key performance indicators is going to tell you where your business is going. Is it going up? Is it going down?
Mhm.
So it's yeah.
Okay. So now in your upcoming ebook, you talk
Yeah.
about people who weren't born into the room. For leaders trying to break into enterprise level deal making environments, what is the number one barrier to entry they face today?
I think I really believe it is confidence.
Okay.
I really believe it's, you know, we're a small business, we're a small business and we can only handle so much and that, that small mind frame. Now I could be wrong and we'll see from the audience when they see this episode if I'm wrong or not. But I believe in my heart that it's a confidence thing. And I wrote the book with the intention of showing everybody because I have learned in my life, both professionally and personally, that sometimes if you want to be seen, you got to be seen. And if you want to be at that table and they don't got a chair for you, you go by the wall, you get the chair, you put it at the table, and you say, "Forgive the way I'm going to say this. Damn it, I'm here, and this is what we going to do.
Mhm.
I'm just as good as these guys." Granted, there's ways around. I don't have the manufacturing capability. There's ways around that. So, through different avenues. But like I said before, I think going back to your question, sorry, I went on a tangent, is that it's confidence, it's knowing that we all have a seat at the table. And yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I know. I agree because the thing is, confidence will bring you to places, even if you don't uh, have the capabilities yet.
right,
Right? So you believe in yourself. It's the mindset. It's the mindset of I can do this. I can walk into this place and I can do this, whatever, you know, uh, contract or, job, whatever the case may be, and be
right,
like, okay, I got this. Right. I
right.
might not have all of the components, but I'm able to figure it out.
Yeah. And again, I always say this and I actually live by this. There's ways around everything. It
Yeah.
really is. And so if you can't build it, you can work with somebody who can.
Hmm.
You can sub that job out to them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then all you're managing is your CFM, and all you're managing is your on-time deliveries to your customer through them, because 'cause they've gotta get to you, you gotta package it and there's ways even around that. I always think about I was playing with some ideas about things, and one thing that kept coming to me is private labels. When you go to the gr I don't know where you are in the United States, but in like here, if we go to Winn-Dixie, right, which is
Hmm.
a supermarket chain. Winn-Dixie has their own brand of soda.
Yep.
Now, Winn-Dixie didn't make that soda. Somebody else made that soda. And they slapped a Winn-Dixie label on it, packaged it up, sent it to Winn-Dixie, and Winn-Dixie distributed it to their stores. It's the same concept. It's the exact same concept. If we took something so simple as soda and did it for manufacturing, if we did it for defense, if we did it for those things, these small guys, they have a shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's understanding that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, for example, Costco, they have what's the name of their brand? Members Mark, or is that
Yeah, Members
s
Mark. Yeah, I believe so.
Members Mark? So, Starbucks does their coffee, right?
Right.
And they sell Members Mark and Starbucks coffee side by side, and
Yeah,
it says on it, "This is made by Starbucks." So,
but
there's
it's
it's
in the Costco box.
yep, that's it.
So, yeah,
So when deploying artificial intelligence into B2B operations, many companies suffer from pilot purgatory. What is your framework for successfully scaling AI tools so they deliver measurable ROI quickly?
it's making it simple.
Yep.
I think we overcomplicate things. I really do. I believe we overcomplicate it. You want 8,000 features, and then when one feature doesn't work, you know what I mean?
It's like
Again,
it's just domino effect.
yeah, it just kinda boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
Again, I will go back to this. KISS. Keep it simple, silly. And it really is my methodology in life. And I believe in it. I live it. And yeah, I think if we just simplified things, get the information disseminated that needs to be disseminated, you're not going to take years to do it. It's going to happen in minutes because that's where the technology is. We can
Mhm.
plug it into our systems now. It can read your system like that, and it can give you the information that you need. Again, governance, you got to think about safety and security on that, you know what I mean? And I think that going into that, um, that is something that we need to be really, really, really careful with procurement because procurement touches everything. You get into an ERP system, an enterprise resource planning system, the manufacturers use to do their planning, their purchasing, and their sales and all that kind of stuff. You got to keep a track of that. You're seeing everything. You're
Mm.
seeing everything, profit and losses. And if you're a multi-million-dollar company and some guy sitting in his underwear in his mama's basement that just decided he wanted to hack something, and he can wipe you out quick by doing a back door. So I think that safety and having governance with these systems and being able to protect your system with your a lot of times with your security. I've made this where it has access role based. So if let's say you run a manufacturer company, you want to bring Nexus on as an add-on to your ERP system, we can run it with your security protocols
Nice.
so that it's tailor. It really is a tailor-made product.
Nice. Now, if a CEO comes to you today
Mhm.
realizing their operational efficiency has plateaued, what are the top three metrics they need to look at immediately to diagnose the bottleneck?
Your KPIs, you know, I
Yeah.
go back to KPIs. It's all about KPIs, man. It really is. Look at look at this. Look at okay, well, what's my on time delivery for suppliers? What's my on time delivery to my customer? What am I spending? Like looking at the labor KPIs, looking at, how much am I putting in the product, right? Where are the anomalies at? Where's my capacity? How much do I actually really have?
Mm,
And do I have the manpower to fulfill this capacity? That's the other part of this thing. And I always go, I'm not trying to be a shameless plug on Nexus, but it's going to be a shameless plug on Nexus. And the reason why is because we have a module called the war room, and in the war room, it shows you your capacity. It shows you all that. How much have you lost? It'll show
mm,
you your margin leakage. Where are you losing margin at? Where's it coming from? And they're clickable buttons. You boop, there it is. Well, okay, well, I see for this order, we should have charged this, we charge this. Boom. Okay, well, in this we have a price anomaly here for this PO with this supplier. And I,
okay,
and that's the cool thing about this is that will give CEOs and I made a CEO module just for CEOs so they can see the whole outline of their business
nice.
because I don't need to see what a CEO sees. I'd love to, but I don't need to see it. I'm a
Right.
buyer. I need to see what I need to see. procurement officer don't need to see what the CEO sees. They need to see what procurement, the buyer's seeing, plus maybe a little extra. Category management, they need to see anomalies. Sourcing management, they need to see a little bit. So it kind of grows as the modules get higher and higher and higher until you get to the CEO that sits on top of the mountain and sees everything.
Nice. That's cool. So when organization undergo massive operational transformation, internal resistance is, bound to happen, right? So how do you align stakeholders across finance, operations, and technology to embrace a completely new procurement paradigm without slowing down the business momentum?
To be honest with you, you got to have your champions. You got to
Yep.
have your champions within the departments. It's not going to work if the department is fighting you. It ain't. I'm going to tell you now, it ain't. So you either have to find your champion that's going to really push this, and this is what we're doing, or you do one of two things. And I hate to say it because I don't want to see nobody on the welfare line, and that is either a man would say to somebody, you either ship up or you ship out. You
Oof.
know? And so this is where we're going. And sometimes you gotta be that guy. You just gotta be that guy. This is what we're doing. You don't like it? I hate to tell you.
It's still
Don't
gonna
let
happen.
yeah, it's gonna happen. So, bye. Bye, Felicia. Don't let the good Lord hit you. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. You know what I mean? So it's just the way that is.
Yeah. So looking back at the trajectory of your career, what is the most contrarian piece of business advice you received that actually turned out to be completely right?
That's a good question. Hmm. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. No, there is no advice that I was given. I'm a watcher, and I say that to tell this. I'm a watcher. I watch everything. And maybe it's the military in me, but I
Mm,
do. I was that way as a kid, right?
you observe.
I observe
Mhm.
everything. And my wife gets crazy because I'm like, if we go to the theme park, I'm like constantly looking around. Look at that guy. What is that? What, and, and, and so, how I've learned and how I've taken my trajectory is seeing the bad and say, okay, I see the bad and see the good. And I've had some great mentors that never gave me advice, but they gave me something to watch,
Mm,
right? Actually, I just remembered something. I'll say that in a second. And yeah, so doing that has been able to let take me up to the next level. Has made me learn,
mm,
right? And I just thought of something, and I hope he watches this because I'm gonna say his name. I worked for a guy, his name was Bobby Ariano, he's out of California. He may still be, supply chain president, vice president of supply chain for Ingersoll Rand. It was ILC Dover. And I worked for him for a bit, and we were at a spot in North Carolina. And then when I wrote my book, it kind of this kind of stays with you. And I used to always make a comment. Well, that's above my pay grade. That's the big boys are here today. The big boys and big boys this, big guys are here when like upper management would come, right?
mhm,
And he looked at me one day and he said, Mike, we've been hanging out for a week at this site. I'm like, yeah. He goes, and all you talk about is the big boys are here, and then you act like you're not one of the big boys, and you don't fit in with that crowd, whatever, brother. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're sitting here in this chair. You're doing what you're doing for the company, and you're talking to me, and I'm your boss, and you're talking to the CEO, and he's your boss. You made it to the big time.
mhm,
And I think that has weighed on me. And when I wrote the book and, about small business, and going back to your question about small business, I believe that's where we all need to be, is if you're owning a business, if you own a small manufacturer and you don't feel like you are big like Lockheed's or big like Northrop's, it's not the size of the company, to our point earlier, it's the mentality of what you're walking in with.
Yep.
And that moment changed how I viewed everything. I think that if I had to give a piece of advice, it was that.
Nice.
But again, like I said before, I watch everything and I've just learned from great mentors and the bad ones mentored me too. They just didn't know they were doing it because they taught me what not to do.
Yeah.
So it yeah,
That's yeah. I get what you're saying because like even as myself a small business owner, sometimes you're like, no, I'm not like, this big company here, blah 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 and whatnot. But uh, I've been walking into rooms where I'm like, I'm confident enough to know that I know what I'm doing, right? And it is not just competence, but also kindness,
yes,
friendliness.
yes.
That's another aspect that I bring into the room where the big companies don't have that. They're
Oh,
not as nice. They're not
right.
as, friendly. They're more rigid. They're more uh, business, right?
Yes.
So versus you coming into a room and knowing, oh, this is this person's birthday or this person's wife's birthday. The maybe a few months ago, I did a podcast with somebody that we knew for a while now. But I remembered when I talked to him last that it was his wife's birthday, and a year later, I'm like, "Oh yeah, wish your wife a happy birthday and whatnot." And he was like, "What? You remember?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, I wrote it down. Like, you said something about your wife. It was her birthday. We had a meeting, so I just made sure I wrote it down that it was her birthday, and
Right.
like, happy birthday, wife, And then he was really happy, right? So that was something that I believe that big companies don't have unless they have like a whole department just for that. But I doubt
Or they
that's
have one oddball like me working in there, and it's old country boy that just like, try to be all nice and friendly, you know what I mean? That one salesman guy that everybody's like, "I don't know about this cat. I don't know about if he's like," I put on it's
Yeah.
funny you say that. I put on LinkedIn, I think it was about a week ago, that I am the oddest CEO you will ever meet in a day in your life because you have my own company, right? Because again, and that's why the book, there's a line in the book that says, "I'm a country boy with champagne dreams." And I really believe that. I'm from a little town in Georgia, and mom and daddy, had a mom, and my father passed on. My mom was still alive. Just talked to her yesterday, and if you're watching this, I love you, mama. And
Hi, moms.
hey, her birthday's in May. Just saying, but
Okay.
no,
I'll write it
and
down.
yeah, you go writing it down. But yeah, so I think about those things too, because you gotta have the personal touch. You just really
Mhm.
do.
Yeah,
Because
I
that's what it gives you that little edge. You know what I mean?
mhm. This can't be done with AI. That's
No,
not something
not
that can
at
be
all.
done with AI, right?
Not
Um,
if we woke up and used AI for what AI was used for, I think we'd be okay. And it ain't replacing jobs.
yeah, I totally agree. So as a founder, an author, and a strategist, your schedule is very demanding. So what is the one non-negotiable daily habit or ritual that keeps your decision making sharp?
The nights are for the wife.
Yep.
I get up every morning at 2:30 in the morning and I work on my projects. That's why I get up and I go to work. I get up at 2:30. I work on my projects till about 4. I get ready for work. I go to work. I get home around 6, and I make sure that the nights are reserved for the missus.
Hey, that's good. That's a good ritual. that you have.
That's why we've been married for almost 20 years.
Congratulations. Well, I will let you go back to your wife because we are recording this pretty late. And I thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. And thank you for your time. And thank you to the Wise Crew for watching. And I see you guys next time. Bye.